What's good, everyone? Today I'm reviewing Aliens, and I'm not so sure if I'm gonna have anything new to say about this movie that 100,000 people haven't said before, but I'm gonna review it anyway. Now, this is my first time seeing the theatrical cut. I've seen the special edition once. This is only my second time watching the movie. Now, in regards to special edition, some people have said that it absolutely ruins the pacing of the movie. I don't think that's entirely true. It has been a while since I've seen it, but still, it is mostly extended scenes, and I think in the theatrical version it is tightened up a bit more to the benefit. I don't think the special edition is the superior version. The one main scene that I think should have been kept in the final version, there's a scene where they set up turrets and they're like stuck in a room. They block off all of the doors and only leave two open for the xenomorphs to crawl in, but they set up turrets in front of it. And the aliens just keep attacking, and they like run out of ammo, and it's like super tense. It's a really well-made scene. I think there is a way they could have fit it in there, and it would have made the theatrical version just a little bit better. But I wasn't like sorely missing it watching the theatrical cut. It didn't need to be there, but I do think it would have been better if it was there. Now, unlike the first Alien, I didn't get to see this in the theater anyway. They aren't putting it back in theaters yet. And I didn't get to see the 4K remaster of it. So I just watched my standard Blu-ray, and I haven't seen the AI enhanced one. I've seen a few like screenshots of it, and I do see what people mean, saying like it looks like the too glossy artificial look. It doesn't look real. So I am a little bit glad that I got to see it on the Blu-ray version, but I am interested to see the 4K too. And now, much like in the first Alien, very few negatives just to kick it off with, just to get them out of the way. One, Newt is a child. There's nothing to be done about that. Some of her lines are a little bit wooden. For a child actor, she isn't even that bad. Just a few moments long, that could have been better. It's a little bit distracting, but child actors, who cares? Big deal. Number two, like in the first Alien, there are a few shots of spaceships that do not age well. They don't look great. Just flying, it looks like they're sort of dragging the image across the screen. Just a few shots, not a big deal. One kind of mixed aspect, it's the same plot as the first movie, except they already know that the aliens exist, and then Ripley just has some character changes because of what happened in Alien. Otherwise, it's the same thing. They go to the planet, they find aliens, they sort of get trapped, walk around tunnels, getting killed by aliens. There's a greedy businessman who wants to capture one and bring it back alive, and he's stupid, and he's just absolutely the worst. So, all around, very similar plot, but there's such different takes. Like, the first one's more isolated horror, the second one's definitely more of an action movie with some horror elements. So they're different enough that it doesn't really bother me a whole lot. They're both great movies, just something I noticed. Now, on to the positives, of which there are many more than there are negatives. First, I'm going to talk about the cast and characters. Obviously, the cast does a great job. The characters are all much better written, much more standout than the first movie. That was one of my main complaints. There didn't really seem to be a main character, and none of them really stood out enough. They were all memorable their own way, but they didn't really stand out enough. This one, all of the characters feel unique and are all memorable, and you have a main character in Ripley this time. She definitely is more front and center in this one. Like I said before, the villains are kind of the same in motivation, but the characters are very different. One is an android that doesn't respect women. The other one is a human who is just overcome by greed and not, he wasn't programmed to do anything. He just wanted to be famous. And so it's different enough. But back to Ripley, she stands out a lot more in this one. She definitely has more layers to her character, where she can be a more caring mother figure to Newt in one scene, and then in the next scene, she's outperforming the Marines, shooting aliens and taking care of business, and it doesn't really feel jarring at all. After the first movie and the aliens kill everyone she knew, she's just tired of everyone's crap and just takes stuff into her own hands. That paired with her going on a character arc of not being racist to robots.
Just stay away from me, Bishop. You got that straight?
Bishop.
You did okay.
I did.
Oh, yeah.
makes for a much more well-rounded character than just so happens to be the last surviving member of the crew who happens to escape from the alien at the end. Now, all of the action is just awesome. I mean, it's James Cameron. What do you expect? That is an interesting thing I noticed about this movie. First time I watched it, I hadn't seen many James Cameron movies since then. I've seen both Avatar movies and I watched Terminator for the first time. And I'm starting to get his style now, like especially with the weapons. They look a lot like the ones that they use in the Avatar movies. So a very unique style that you can kind of put together there. But all the action is put together really well. I mean, it's always fun just to watch space marines killing space aliens. But in this one, there's more consequences to it. Like, if you shoot them, they have acid blood, and if it gets on you, it's going to melt your skin off. And that actually has consequences in this. And on that same note, they're in kind of like a nuclear power plant. Not really. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Some sci-fi building. And if you shoot your explosive rounds in there, it's going to blow up the whole building. And all of that just makes for a more interesting, high-stakes way of framing an action scene. For a movie that came out in 1986, this movie is extremely visually impressive. It's not as immersive as the first Alien, but it does expand on the world building. It shows you more of what this sci-fi future looks like. At the final showdown where you're in like this sort of power plant, and there are all these huge backgrounds and explosions, and they're all practical sets. It's just amazing because no other movie back then really did that the way Aliens did it. And it's just stuff that you don't see these days because it's all CGI, and it makes you think it's like, we could have been doing it this way this whole time? Like, we have the power to do that more regularly, and then we use CGI? Like, this looks way better 30 years ago, and it's all done practically. Now, part of that is James Cameron is a special effects wizard. I mean, take his Avatar films, for example. They're just as impressive, immersive worlds made fully out of CGI. They're perfect looking movies, and he did it practically back in the 80s. So it's just kind of up to preference whether or not you prefer practical or CG. I'm a practical guy, but I can't deny the Avatar movies are also pretty great. And if you go back to that final battle, like you see at the beginning of the movie, Ripley is forklift certified for those like robot suits.
Well, I can drive that loader. I have a Class 2 rating.
And as soon as you see him, you're just like, I want to see a robot fight. And you get to the end of the movie, and he gets in a robot suit and fights the Xeno Queen. And it's just an awesome fight. It's done really well, just for having this huge puppet and this big mech suit, all done practically. And they're actually like fighting, and that's something, again, you see all the time now with CGI. It's just a miracle how they're able to do that with actual practical suits and sets. And the Xeno Queen itself is kind of terrifying. Like, it has like human like breathing that's just really off-putting. And the design of it is also really cool. It has like a sort of crown that its head moves kind of independently from it, but also comes out of it. And it has like these weird bony human hands, but then like has another set of arms with more alien arms. It just looks really cool. And like the mech suit, another setup and payoff at the beginning, they're like, the aliens come out of eggs, where the eggs come from, and at the end you see the Xeno Queen has like this huge disgusting egg sac that thankfully gets burned and nuked. Yeah, that's about all I got for Aliens. I mean, it's a great movie. There's not really much to be said that 100 people haven't said before. It's a 10 out of 10. There's a reason it's a classic. Yeah, make sure you nuke that subscribe button from orbit.
It's the only way to be sure.
Thanks for watching.